They've come from across the country to this tiny town to celebrate an anniversary. The guest of honour is only here in spirit, but he's the bond that's brought them together.
One Mississippi, two Mississippi.
Put me down!
Sam,
I mean it, fellas! Put me down!
And I'm serious when I say I'm gonna come back and find you.
My mom says, when it comes to men, talk is cheap.
It's day one of the Mark Twain Motherlode Festival, and the play, written by one of his biographers, is a hit.
Where do you learn to play like that?
Well, hello there.
The literature is as relevant today as I think it was then.
Hey, Mike, cummerbund. I'm gonna get the cummerbund.
The river is still a huge part of life, and the American sort of spirit is sort of all over his work.
I think it's in the legacy of the words that he left us on paper, and the hunger maybe that we have for a sense of our own country and our own experiences.
This is Angels Camp, population 3,800. It was once the hub of the California gold mining boom, and for a short time, home to the creator of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. It was here that Mark Twain wrote The Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, and the town has claimed him ever since. In fact, they're presenting the inaugural Mark Twain Award this weekend, and who better to receive it than Mark Twain himself?
Well, I was born modest, but it wore off. I tell people who want to write without pay, until someone offers you pay. And if no one offers within 3 years, then cutting wood is what you were intended for. Thank you ever so much.
This is what they've come for, the first public glimpse of his long-awaited autobiography. The Twainiacs have waited 100 years for these words from their idol, and they're snapping them up. Delaying its publication gave him freedom to be frank about politics, religion, and his observations of supposed friends.
And Mark Twain was very worried about saying things that would offend living people.
And that's why he put the 100-year...
Yes. And also, he didn't want to be ostracized. And he was so angry at Christianity and the kind of wars that were, and the destruction and the murder that was done in the name of that religion.
He slams America's imperialism in Cuba, Puerto Rico and the Philippines. He's critical of then-President Theodore Roosevelt. He describes patriotism as the refuge of the scoundrel and makes public his doubts about God.
Mark Twain has not been treated all that kindly by his scholars and biographers. There has been a very curious aura of skepticism about him that pervaded the last 100 years of writing about him. It's almost as though American intellectuals don't want to bestow too much praise on a guy who never got tenure, and yet wrote a lot better than they did.
Born Samuel Clemens in 1835, Mark Twain was a printer, a journalist, a steamboat pilot, even a Confederate soldier, until he deserted, hiding out in Angels Camp, where he returned to writing. And it's here that fans have flocked in their hunt for the autobiography.
Everybody's ecstatic about that. I mean, the phone's been ringing off the hook. Everybody's asking me about it. What do you mean you don't have it for sale right now? I said, I can't do that.
For those who miss out on the book, impersonators give them the next best thing.
I travel across this great land of ours in the schools, and I try to remind the young people, the man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot read them.
The release of this autobiography isn't the end of the story. In fact, there are 2 more volumes to come. And inside this library here at Berkeley, a team of editors is literally being swamped by the amount of material still turning up. Bob, this is like an Aladdin's cave for Mark Twain fans.
Yes, it is. Like for us as well.
You call it the vault?
We call it the vault.
It was here that Bob Hirst and his team sorted through thousands of letters and journals, diaries and books to painstakingly compile the autobiography the way the author intended.
This is actually it. This is the autobiography.
Well, this is the very first piece of it. These are the manuscript pages that he wrote in mid-1906, after he's been dictating for a few months.
Following his instructions, though, wasn't easy.
This is the extraordinary challenge that you must have faced. What does a piece of paper saying, please insert the other 44 pages mean to you?
Well, I mean, you have to start looking for what he's referring to. In fact, this is particularly challenging because we now know that these 44 pages don't exist any longer.
In case you can't read my hand.
With the first volume flying off the shelves, work continues on the next two. Mark Twain once had to reassure friends reports of his death were an exaggeration. But even in death, his reputation as one of America's greatest writers has been sealed.